Hey guys, my name is Nick. I'm a photographer based in New York, and we're going to talk about medium format cameras. And then there's like the intro, which we haven't made yet, which will have music and all sorts of side characters, which we'll, get to know later on in the series. So last month, Luke acquired a GFX 100 Mark II, which, if you don't know, that's Fujifilm's newest addition to the medium format line.
Is it everything we dreamed of, or is it a little underwhelming? So recently I picked up the GFX 100 Mark II, and even more recently Nick picked up the GFX 50R, and upon receiving both of those cameras, we were not as excited as we thought we were going to be.
Luke and I were both honestly pretty overwhelmed. Underwhelmed by the performance. There was some type of expectation we had in our mind.
Is medium format really what we want in our everyday life? On my X-T5, my favorite way of shooting is with a speed booster and the Canon 100mm macro to get that full body look and better compression while still getting like a relatively wide image, like some of the photos here. So it seems as if I've been chasing the medium format look more than anything. Finally getting it, it's a little bit more than I expected. Not just a compression difference, but also a feeling of how to use the camera. So what we wanted to do today is we wanted to take the cameras and compare it to one of our favorite photo cams, the Fuji X-T5.
How could you not like it? You know what I mean? It's such a pretty camera. It's so easy. It's so fun to use. It's just really handy and fun. I guess that's the MO of Fuji, right?
So one of the first things Nick and I did was set up a mock portrait just for the both of us. First with the GFX and a whole speed light situation. We tried to match the exact same shot on the X-T5. So obviously the compression was a big difference. On the GFX we were shooting at 100mm, and on the X-T5 we were shooting at 50mm. Basically rounding out to a full frame equivalent of around 75 to 80mm per each camera. The compression difference is so crazy that you almost don't expect it until you put it side by side. You don't expect it to be so drastically different. Like the picture of me looks more like a painting or a portrait, whereas the picture on the X-T5, you get a little more depth of my actual body, like my face to my torso. Whereas the GFX just puts like my face and the torso almost on the same focal plane because of that extra compression. Nick and I decided to set up a couple more like mock shoots, and we had one of our new friends, Chill Will, join us today. So we did in the studio some work with the flash and did a little portrait session in front of the garage door. So for me, one of the things with a camera is not just the specs of it, it's not just the lensing with it, but a big deal for me is actually wanting to pick it up in the first place. The ergonomics, the weight, the usability. If the camera is getting in my way, I don't really like it that much. I like it to feel like an extension of myself. And there's this note with the GFX, it makes you slow down a little bit. And I know a lot of people talk about that. They talk about cameras that force them to slow down and get the shot they want and really like take in the moment. I don't particularly think that's the right way of doing it, because I do think that slowing down means it's getting in your way. It should be as quick as put the camera up to your eye, frame it, and take the shot, and then there you go, and you just got a slice of life. Like you're trying to capture moments of life. You're trying to capture experiences. And in portrait settings, you have a little more time with that, but I don't want to feel like I'm messing around with the camera. I don't want to feel like the camera's annoying to me to use. My first impression with the GFX here was it's a little clunky. It's a little too big. I have it with the 45 to 100 here, and that's the only lens I got for it, so that's been my daily for it. And it felt a little too slow for me, even though this has high frame rates and everything, and it's built really well and the UI is really good. It's big and it's heavy.
I haven't had any hands-on experience with medium format cameras before, so needless to say, I was super excited when Luke lent it to me for a whole week while he was off shooting. So I shot the whole week with that camera. I made sure that I dedicated to that was my only camera I used to shoot on. I got my friend Eric to model for me in one location. I went out, I shot in different, you know, abandoned cars all over the area. I just tried to just like soak it up and see like what exactly this camera is about.
When you taking care of your business, but some friendly, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket, Houston, we got a problem, man. Perfect, let them watch me elevating, got them nauseous, cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit, nose diving in the house, and woo! Watch out, get ahead, watch out, get ahead, watch out, get ahead, woo!
Heavy camera. Like, and that was just kind of it.
Yeah, that's
like I couldn't like run around with the camera the way I could with the X-T5, you know. It really kind of felt like for the first time, like I was holding a camera and that I actually had to sort of like bend to its rules a little bit. If you're a photographer at any level, whether it's a hobby, novice, professional, you sort of like, once you get into photography a little bit and you find out about medium format, there is a bit of like a coveted mystique about it. You know, there's not a lot of people that shoot on it. It's an expensive camera. It's like this big, especially like when it was filmed, those negatives are gigantic. And there's sort of like this romantic thing about it. Like, ooh, you shot it on a medium format camera. Ooh, that's like such good quality, right? And it's like, yeah, I guess that's true. But, you know, I think the thing that I first realized about it is that medium format cameras are not something you transition to and never look back again. You know, you don't like upgrade to that and then say goodbye to all of your full frame or crop sensor cameras. You know, there is very much like a bit of a specialized, you know, medium format cameras in a lot of ways are very much a specialized tool. You know, you don't want it for everything. I did a lot of shootouts with my personal medium format camera, which is the GFX 50R. And I pinned it up against my Fujifilm X-T5. And I tried to recreate the same shots for each, just so I could see the exact difference in image quality. You'll see here that there's a lot of me just like shooting like a mirror selfie, or, you know, just in my home, just around trying to recreate and see just exactly how it's different. And you'll see that there's just a bit more of, like I said, just a smoother roll off. And like tonality, it's like the tonally is just very smooth roll off. And I might return it. Luke and I and Will, we all went on a photo walk just to sort of like, you know, test it out. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. I chose to pick more like rustic, rundown architecture style things because I usually enjoy shooting that. And I was really excited to sort of achieve this exact look on a bigger sensor. And so you'll see there's actually a lot of subjects I picked happen to be just like wooden doors or like, you know, bricks or, you know, dilapidated walls, something that has lots of texture where like the detail and the dynamic range can really shine. That was the hope, and I think I pulled that off for the most part.
I was just trying to take shots that I thought medium format photographers would take, and I started to fall into what I don't want to fall into. Like I started to be too slow with it, which is just not how I like to work with it.
So I can get. Now this, does it look cool when I do that?
You're making the same expression that my like little cousin makes. Can you see that? You're doing like the.
Yeah, I did something bad. I did something very bad.
And you're proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a kinetic shooter. I love action happening. I love movement in the frame. I always drag my shutter to kind of get the feeling of static to movement. Because of the stabilized sensor, I was actually able to do that of Nick on the staircase going up. I was able to get one with the perfectly sharp staircase and then that kinetic motion of Nick going up. Because if it was just him up there mid-motion, to me, that's a throwaway shot. I don't really care about it so much.
How you feeling?
Feeling pretty great, honestly. I actually enjoyed that photo walk so much that I was so into it that I just like left Luke and Will in the dust.
Oh, but Nick is gone now. He's on a mission, I think.
We invited Will to come hang out and you know, shoot some some footage of us shooting, and little did they know that I was gonna be like yards away from them onto the next scene. So that'll tell you how much I enjoyed shooting with it. How much I enjoyed that. Just a day later, I got Luke on the phone and I told him that I might actually be returning the GFX 50. And I think it's important to mention why I ended up thinking that maybe this wasn't the camera for me. And this is what I told Luke in the phone call. I think the main selling point of a medium format camera is the native 3:4 aspect ratio, the dynamic range, and the ability to just get more compression, because it is, well, I won't explain it to you, you can look that up. Or Luke can explain that one to you, which I honestly wasn't that impressed with it, to be honest with you. I would compare a lot of my shots with this camera and the X-T5, and I would do a blind, test with it. I would switch the images around after I recreated the scene, and I would always pick the X-T5. I think the X-T5 sensor is amazing. The colors and just the way it's just so 3D in a way that I just don't think that at least this particular camera can pull off. I was constantly wondering, why do I even have this camera if I am picking the one that is a crop sensor instead? And I think that's worth mentioning because, it's sort of about your personal taste too. At the end of the day, you can look on these spec sheets and it can tell you the resolution and the dynamic range and all the stops that it can record and all that. But at the end of the day, you need to get your eyes off of the spec sheet and onto the pictures you're taking. Do you like what you're seeing? And stop worrying about any kind of status or something that might come with having experience with these cameras, and just worry about what you like, that your eyes like. I remember when I used to work in music, I remember meeting a lot of people that were not great singers, and no offense to them, but they would buy really expensive microphones, and all it did was just get a really good recording of how much they can't sing. Look, the guy gave me till December 3rd. We're shooting in the middle of November right now. The guy gave me till December 3rd to ship it out. I think I'm giving myself until then to really explore all of these misconceptions and just sort of forgetting what I thought it was and just starting from zero again. And I think at this point I spent the day deciding that I'm gonna make it a challenge to just sort of try to understand this camera better, which I think is a good advice for anyone. Just try to understand your camera no matter what it is. And you might be surprised with what you can get out of it. So I'm gonna give it some time. I'm still on the fence about it, but I like it enough where I'm not just gonna cast it to the side so quickly.
So this is a few days later, and I was working on some of the photos in Capture One, and I started to really see what people talk about with the files with this thing, because this is my first time using it. As Nick mentioned, he got the camera for a whole week. I got it, immediately had to leave out for a whole nother shoot, so I didn't really get to play with it too much. Anything I did, I was just looking at the back of the camera. So looking at the files, yeah, it was super smooth and it was really nice. And there actually was quite a few portraits I was really happy with. The ones I did with Will and his hat tucked down, and Nick, and highlighting his GFX 50R as well, which was really cool. And I didn't find as many shots I loved on the walk itself. What I did notice is, because of this crazy dynamic range in these files, I had a shot of Will up against the up against this wall covered in vines, and it was just direct sunlight. So I put him in front of it, did a quick portrait, and oh my God, it just held up so well. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like I'm fighting light versus dark in this kind of picture. And the more I walked around with it, yeah, it felt heavy. And I think this is what Nick was talking about. I kind of fell in love with the 100 Mark II. But the more I was using it, I did get the shots I wanted. It was just much harder to get the shots I wanted. So at the end of the day, I ended up being a little disappointed because I only got a couple of the shots I wanted to get. But it wasn't really the camera getting in my way, I realized. Like it's something to get used to, and it's heavier. And one of my biggest gripes is that 45 to 100 does not have good close focus. Not where I want to use it. I'm used to using like a 100mm macro and then be able to really go tight when I want to go tight and then come back out when I want to come back out. So I think I'm gonna just keep a diopter under the lens cap so I can use it here and there when I want to. I took it out with me when I was walking my dog the next day, and I just took a few shots just walking around town. And it was weird. It felt like an extension of myself, which is the whole thing. I didn't feel like I was thinking about it too much. I was able to just pick it up and grab a shot, which is all I ever want. And I think you just need time. You just need time with these cameras. And once you have enough time with it, they kind of mold into your own personality. The camera doesn't make it the man make it the camera. Also, I can't believe Nick wants to sell his 50R. That son of a bitch. So, are you thinking about getting a medium format camera? Have you not been able to stop thinking about getting a medium format camera? Well, maybe, just maybe, it's not the thing for you. And what you're shooting on right now may be the perfect camera. But anyway, if you like this video, please consider subscribing and liking and hitting that bell notification icon in the bottom. We got more stuff coming out as always. We're gonna try sticking to a 2-week schedule now. But if you like this video with Nick and I, consider watching the video where we made a Shinola watch commercial with our friend Eric and whatever else we've made in the last couple weeks. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember what the last one was.
Cinema lens you made, right?
The what?
The anamorphic cinema lens movie?
Anamorphic cinema lens. I made my own cinema lens. Go watch that too. And that's it. Cool. Chill Will, do you want to say anything?
I'm Chill Will. I'm a photographer and I don't own a medium format camera, and I'm happy with that.